concerns, disputes, and questions regarding the value of all different types of property, as well as questions and concerns on their exemptions and deferrals. During the first part of the year through June 30th, the assessing manager spends time going throughout the town inspecting, measuring all new constructions and permits within the community, and entering all this information on the new construction into the CAMA system, which is used for new growth. And new growth is anything that has not been previously billed on the prior tax roll. We also have to send out personal property forms of list. It's mailed to each business, and we use from the town clerk's office. We get a list of all the new businesses as they go in. We send out to all the ones that have been taxed, and also through the zoning board of appeals cases, any businesses that are now conducted in the homes, an application for the taxpayer to fill out for that information also. We also send out income and expense forms to businesses in town, which we review on whether the property is rented or not and what their lease amounts are in order to come up with a commercial and industrial value of the property. Our office is consisting of a part-time assessing manager, one full-time administrative assistant, and a full-time secretary clerk. We also have a 3-member board, and like I said, most of our work is governed by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. If anyone has any questions, and then we can go into the budget itself.
Yeah, I've asked these questions. You're pretty much aware of trying to understand the trends and where things are headed. I also want to mention that due to your hard work, we were able to increase our budgeted new growth considerably this past year, which has really helped us in the shortfall of other revenues. I've been, and I appreciate, by the way, the information you sent me regarding the
You're very welcome.
Excise tax and the trends there, which are a real concern because we can't put our hands around it until
the actual tax bill.
Till the bills go up.
But at least it gave you an overview.
If anyone heard the news today regarding the automotive industry, but sales were down significantly in December, and all that leads to potential further loss of revenue in motor vehicle excise taxes. I believe we've knocked it down 10% from last year's budgeted amount, if I'm correct.
From collections.
And there's a question about whether or not that's even enough.
And we won't really know that until February when the first actual big billing comes out. So.
All right, but as I recall, the a car of the current year, calendar year, is valued at 90%.
Right.
Of some published.
For 2009, a 2009 car would be 90% valued at 90% of the manufacturer's suggested retail price.
And the next one is 60%.
Then it drops down. A 2008 would be valued at 60%, a 2007 at 40%,
yeah.
and
it bottoms
down to
at
10.
10. Right.
Once a car is 5 years of age, it stays at that for the life of the car.
Right. And the average age of the cars in North Reading have gone from, what was it, 7 years to 9 years. And that's just through last year's reported numbers.
Right.
So the trend is such that, potentially we could be in worse shape than the 10% reduction. Second question I have, and I find this, I don't know how you get to the bottom of it, but on personal property. So you send a form out.
Yep.
Right, and if a business owner or someone running a business at home doesn't reply to the form, what action is taken?
The only action that can be taken is we can try to contact them, try to get into their home to find out, but if they don't allow us in, there's not much we can do.
Can you assess them a certain figure, but give it your best guess, and if they don't like it, they can come in and prove otherwise?
There is a provision where you can
It's,
Um,
Joe, that's how you get a response.
It's the same as going out with a building permit.
Yeah.
If you make the attempt and you can't get in, you estimate, and then it's up to them, to appeal, and then if they wanna go further, then if you go to the appellate tax board, and at that point, then prior to going to the appellate tax board, they're supposed to let you in to do a full inspection.
Right, so.
And,
So as I say, we give it our best guess.
But the only thing is, by doing that, and then if the information that we put on for a value is incorrect, that comes out of the overlay account.
Okay.
So
'Cause my
you
guess
have to
is-
be,
My guess is that generally though, but once you establish a figure, it's something more than you were getting before, which was nothing.
right, but say if we put, $2,000 of value on, and they actually only have $50, they have a phone, and you put 2,000.
People have a phone and a computer and a fax
But
machine.
I'm just using it
Right,
as
right.
an estimate, and then you have to abate that, $1,950, that, in value, that comes out of the overlay account on the taxes.
My wife and I own a summer cottage up in Essex, and we get the form,
Mhm.
and,
You're honest.
well, you have the option. And the option is, they say, if you don't return the form, right, they bill you 10% of the value of the property, not the land, but of
Right,
the
of the
house.
building.
So I assume that that's under some statute or control.
Right, that's for, personal property used in a summer residence, which is
A little different.
different than
Okay.
personal property on a business.
Is there a similar formula though that?
I would have to check into it.
Yeah.
I know there is a provision, but I would have to, review that before.
It's just as we spoke with the building inspector, and you've seen it too, you've seen it, an increase in special permit requests for
Mhm.
automobiles, for home occupations.
Right. And I think with the economy, the way it is right
We're gonna
now,
see more.
people are trying to do home businesses because they're out of work.
Right.
So I think we're gonna find more of those. And as I said, we have, we're now getting a copy. We weren't in the past, but we are now. I've requested to get, when they have a zoning board of appeals case, to get a copy of the decision to find out what it's for. And then we're tracking that through our office. So if it is a home business, then we will be sending out a formal list, and hopefully, they comply.
Third question is related to, and this has been a concern, I think, that's been discussed, a tendency for more requests for abatements.
Mhm.
And,
Well,
we're
I
seeing.
do have to say, the tax bills have been out for 2 weeks,
Mhm.
and it's been pretty quiet. I put out a 3-page, information about how the values were derived, what's the course of action, that they're based on calendar year 2007 sales. Because 2008, you really saw a drop, which will, in fiscal 2010, we'll be using the calendar year 2008 sales. But for this fiscal year, using the 2007, we saw a slight decrease, in values for residential, but not a big decrease. So I think people, when they come in, get that information, look over the 2007 calendar year sales, I think they're finding that, the values are where they should be.
I see, so, because there's a year's lag.
Yeah, because now we're in
There's an answer to the-
2009,
yeah.
and you're using calendar year 2007 sales.
Okay? Steve?
Just as I'm looking at your information.
For the abatement, the tax bills went out on the 26th of December, and they have until February 2nd at 4 p.m. to file when the tax bill, when the third quarter is due.
Steve.
Just in your informational packet here, you
Yep.
said that for 2008, you had 138 abatement applications, of which 45 were approved.
Mhm.
What was the impact on the overlay account approximately? Do you remember on that? Would they be significant?
No, a lot of them were
45 approvals is a lot.
Right, but a lot of them were small. There might have been a miscalculation on the land. There might might have been, an easement, like a wetland that hadn't been on there, that should have been on there. So I think the majority of them were on the small side.
Yeah, I just, looking at the Rod Dam,
Yeah.
Rod Never, though, that was a pretty significant, third of
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 the
all,
application.
a third of all applications were approved in some fashion. I was just curious as to, maybe what were the rationale, the reasons for it. And was it something that was systemic internally that we had that has been corrected since?
Any application, if there's an error, it's put into the next year's database with that correction, so it always goes forward.
I was just thinking, was there something that we were miscalculating on previously whereby
Well,
it was finally captured by people and agreed upon by the board?
it was, like I said, a conservation restriction that we may not have had, but the person, the taxpayer provided us with that information so that we could verify, which would be like a 5% land discount. Just odds and ends of things like that. I mean, sometimes there are miscalculations as far as the square footage that has to be corrected. But I think most of them were small. I came at the very tail end of that, so I wasn't really aware.
And then I just noticed in your proposal that the only cut that's being proposed is in your salary.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you doing that to yourself?
Because by state law, I can only work
Oh,
a
okay.
certain amount of hours
All right.
where I'm retired from another system.
Okay, any other questions for Assessor?
She does the job.
Oh, I
Mr.
know.
Jones,
You get a good deal.
hiding in the back.
When is the next 3-year reassessment process?
It is called for fiscal 2011, and we'll have to have appropriations in 2010 in order to start the process, because it will be in, it will start in the year 2010.
All right, so we will need an appropriation in this forthcoming budget for that
Correct.
purpose.
And I believe I had to.
Which I don't believe you need the answer tonight.
Okay.
What part of the overlay account will cover that? Right, we don't know that.
We don't know
Remains
that.
to be seen.
Right,
I didn't want to push it.
right, no,
But those are two things that we're gonna need to know.
absolutely, yeah. I think I had put that in with my information.
Okay, any budget questions, Steve?
No, just another compliment. I think you've done a terrific job
Oh.
for us, and certainly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Doing a great job.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, next and last budget of the evening,
12 and 13. is the
Finance Director.
Well,
Where you gonna start, Joe?
I'm just gonna start by saying, we couldn't ask departments to cut their budgets by 3% unless we did, so, in order to set a good example, we
Thank you, everybody.
we were able to reduce our budget by 3%. The Finance Division consisted of 3 departments: the Assessor's Office, that you just heard from, who's responsible for, as she said, assessing value to property so that we can commit property taxes to the collector for collection. Motor vehicle excise, that's another thing that's committed to the collector. The collector at Treasury collector function is responsible for the collection of these monies and for deposits into the bank and to other investment vehicles. The third component, which is the accounting, which is my department, we're responsible for safeguarding these assets, watching over them, making sure that when they are to be expended, they're expended for the purpose, a lawful municipal purpose. We do this with a staff of 2 part-timers. Right now, we're a little bit undermanned because of a serious illness, but we're working through that with the help of a person from the collectors department. So we're working through that. We also have to prepare several financial documents for the Department of Revenue, which we do, and we have always been timely with those